Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 185 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on June the 3rd, 2019.
Hi, I'm Gavin. I recently made the base decision to pick up a Swiss Arms rifle.
Nice. My name is Ian. I'm a hobby farmer on Vancouver Island. They needed a token Westerner, and nobody else applied.
All right, I'm Marty, hunter and sport shooter in rural southern Ontario.
As always, my name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, and this week I'm coming to you from the hotel room under the sea. Apologies in advance for the terrible audio.
We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. A version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
All right. As always, you can check the podcast out on Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast or Instagram at Instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast. If you listen to this episode with the bad Andrew audio, you can go on either of those things and complain about it, and Andrew will refund the money you paid for this episode.
Fact.
That's not true. Once you become a Patreon so I can buy a better quality.
Yeah. So yeah, once you've gone and complained about the audio, then head over to patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon, because we need your help to get Andrew better audio. Apparently, though, a better quality version of the show is available for $1 per episode. Andrew's audio may or may not be better. The more you pledge, the better the rewards are. So show you're not a communist, buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com and follow the link on the right.
All right, it's time for my favorite segment of the show. It's called What Are We Drinking? Unfortunately, this is also my least favorite segment this week because I am not drinking.
Ooh. Yeah, that's rough.
Gavin, what are you drinking?
Can do little thingy?
I'm drinking a Jack Daniels and Coke Zero this evening.
You want me to do the ad read?
Yeah, do the ad read.
Okay.
Do we not have a...
I can do it if you want.
Giver.
All right, so this week, Arrowhead Coffee. So Arrowhead Coffee is owned and operated by Canadian Armed Forces veterans. They love our country, the true north, strong and free. Their family and friends join Arrowhead Coffee on the hunt for the perfect brew to raise morale and bring that feeling of home to you, no matter where you are. A portion of all profits help Canadian Armed Forces members, veterans, and their families.
Yeah, it's not so funny when you have to do it, is it?
Yeah, so I screwed it up too.
There are people that have given me grief about my ability to read the words on the page in front of me for 185 episodes, but it's not so easy, is it?
No, I was under pressure to find the old episode that actually had the ad read, and then I had to fumble through it quickly, and I said, see, you're in the same episode. You're on 183 looking it up too. I can tell right now.
Yeah, I put it in the show notes. Look at that.
Yeah, so this week, What Are We Drinking is brought to you by Arrowhead Coffee. Is what we were supposed to put at the beginning of that, but now we're doing it now.
It got done. That's what matters.
Yeah, of course.
So Ian, what are you drinking?
Well, unfortunately, I'm in the midst of wage cooking myself, so green tea. Sorry.
What's the ABV on green tea?
0.
Disappointing.
Mm.
I mean, I did do some pre-show at the local pub next to the hotel under the sea that I'm staying at.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have the hour cut off with my ability to partake, and so I have to go. But the good news is it's also 0 sugar, so keto friendly.
Ah,
well, there you go.
Marty, what are you drinking?
I have some Crown Royal Maple today with some Coke Zero.
Well, I'm glad that the two of you are on the Coke and something train at least.
Well, we'll just have to pick up the slack.
All right, Gavin's getting wrecked. I have an early mating. Good stuff. Let's do the news. That's probably why we're here. I imagine that's why most people listen to us. Not for what are we drinking, although I do like to talk about what we're drinking.
We should just do a whole show on what we're drinking. Just an hour and a half of us trying different alcohols constantly and drinking.
Would
Still
people
drinking
be-
whiskey.
Would
Yeah.
people watch me make beer? I wonder if that would be a YouTube thing. Like I could do like a 2-hour live stream on me making beer.
Well, I'm sure.
That may be acceptable on a different podcast. I'm just saying.
Yeah, or like if you do it at the same time as like Oven Time with Tyler.
Oh, but then my show would get taken down.
Tyler's quite busy for oven time tonight.
Yeah.
Yes. Fingers crossed we have an update about that for the end of the show.
Yeah.
So, going to the news. First thing from the National Post. Ontario moves to end beer store contract, paving the way for beer in corner stores. I contend that the National Post and the Ontario government and the beer store are all wrong on various counts. Paving the way for beer in corner stores was the Liberal government by putting beer in grocery stores. This is paving the way.
Yeah.
Well,
By
the good
paving
news
the
is-
way for beer in more corner stores.
Yes, increasing the availability of beer. I'm totally on board with Team Dougie.
Yeah.
But
I do
I
believe this
don't-
could also be interpreted as less government involvement, which is probably a good thing.
yes, I 100% less government involvement, less silly things. So the Ontario government is planning to terminate early a 10-year contract that they have with the beer store, who, for everybody who's not in Ontario, I don't know why you're not, it's clearly the best province. That's a lie. It's terrible in Ontario. They have a 10-year contract to distribute all of the beer. The beer store is owned by 3 of the world's largest brewing conglomerates. So the beer store is really not my friend or anyone else's in Ontario because they
Yeah.
artificially limit the selection of beer that's available and they control all the distribution to
Yeah.
restaurants,
Yeah.
bars, and still the grocery stores where the Liberals made it possible to buy beer last year.
Where they tax
And
you
it's
on
not a
that.
and it's not a government corporation where we get the proceeds. It's just a government propped up monopoly.
Yeah.
Which seems to have a penchant for the old Canadian content too. It doesn't seem to like foreign beers at all.
Yeah. That's what the LCBO is for.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it is, but Anheuser-Busch, Sapporo, and is Sleeman's the other major stakeholder in the beer store?
So Molson is like the
Molson.
dominant one with
Yeah, Molson.
like
Molson, Anheuser-Busch, and Sapporo. are the-
50%.
Yeah.
And then Labatt is the second one with like high 40s, and then like Sleeman is the third, and they have like
Sleeman.
3% or something, 4%.
Yes,
somewhere
but
in
I
that ballpark.
believe where Andrew's getting Sapporo is I believe Sapporo owns Sleeman.
Yeah, they're all owned by InBev.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sleeman and Sapporo are owned by InBev.
Yes. Yeah, and I think Labatt was owned by another larger conglomerate as well, which is
Anheuser-Busch.
yeah. But
Yeah. And my understanding is the same as Gavin. It's a combination of like Molson in terms of the paperwork. It's a combination of Molson, Labatt, Sleeman that owns the beer store.
yeah, and Molson is the one that has like just over 50%, and then Labatt has just under 50, and then Sleeman's makes up that tiny little extra.
And actually, forgive my ignorance. I'm actually kind of surprised by all that. I honestly, I guess it was like the cable news companies, all owned by like 3 major networks type of thing with all the different channels. But
Yeah,
I didn't realize that was the beer thing was such a overwhelming like conglomeration of companies there.
Yeah, it's 3 major beer companies that own the beer store in Ontario that has the monopoly to distribute and sell beer. And they're in cahoots with the LCBO because the way it works is basically if you want like macro, you go to the beer store and you buy a 2-4 of Bud Light. If you want like Ontario craft beer, you go to the LCBO and you buy a 6-pack of,
yeah,
I don't know, name an Ontario craft beer.
pretty much anything that's not made by one of those 3 people.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this before. So the LCBO started selling beer relatively recently, but they can only sell certain quantities because of the contract. The beer store says that I think it's like anything 20 in quantities of 24 or over, they have the exclusive distribution rights on.
Yes.
Yeah, it caps out
And
at
then
24.
The issue is that for these microbrewers and things like that, the beer store essentially charges them. So it's not a fair marketplace. Like they'll sell their own beers, but if you want them to sell like your beer, then they charge you an additional fee, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then basically you can't sell it anywhere else because one way or another it has to flow through this entity unless you sell it from your brewery location, but then you're kind of limited to your local market and that's about it.
Yeah. So like you're not allowed to sell it anywhere else except for through your competitor, and you have to pay your competitor to sell your product.
Yeah.
That sounds like lovely government intervention.
Yeah, and somehow Brewers Retail, which is the company that owns the beer store, is set up as a not-for-profit entity somehow. Yet somehow when you compare like the pricing of beer and everything and you take out the tax and compare it to other retailers, the pricing through them is still higher. So somehow they're making a profit even when they're not supposed to be making a profit.
Well, it's also easy to be a nonprofit when you pay your CEO ludicrously high salaries for the job.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, paying the CEO and the union employees is a good point because this is being fought by the beer store and the union, United Food and Commercial Workers Association, that is all of the unionized labor at the beer store. So this is naturally going to cost tens of thousands of jobs. And what's the president of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union he had this to say: "We will fight the government and this premier to keep our jobs and save the taxpayers the billions Ford is willing to pay to put beer in corner stores." I'm not really sure how that. Yes, okay, so we're breaking a contract and there will be fees and penalties, but no one said anything about closing the beer store and unemploying these people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's not a bad idea.
And there may be more jobs in the corner stores after all.
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt that once you can get beer elsewhere, that for the most part, the beer store will close down because they're really not all that convenient.
No,
they're competitive.
They have terrible pricing and terrible hours, and I can't say that it's a particularly good shopping experience. The beer store in Ontario has two models depending on which vintage your beer store is. Get it? Vintage? It's an alcohol joke.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Thank you. There's two models. There's the kind it's a Costco style warehouse where you walk in and you buy, like, you pick up your own 2-4 and take it to the cash. Or there's the mysterious Utah variety where beer is kept behind a curtain and you're not allowed to see it. It comes out on a conveyor.
The first time I saw that, not to date myself again, but it was on that movie Strange Brew with Bob and Doug McKenzie, and I never could understand how somebody could order the beer they wanted. It would just come down the roller thing and they'd have to pay for it right there. It was totally foreign to us in Western Canada. It was actually
that comes back from so the liquor store used to be very similar as well. You would walk into the store and approach the counter and like tell them what you wanted. I think at one time you may have even had to fill out a slip of paper and hand them the slip of paper. Somebody would then go to the back and come back with your liquor already bagged up.
Well, I mean, that's convenient. You could just open the top of it and start drinking.
Yeah. Because somehow,
Andrew, you did forget the third format, though, which is the drive-through beer store.
Oh, that's right. They do have their drive-through beer store. I'm sorry. There's only one in my area, and I do not frequent it. You're right. There is the drive-through beer store.
Whoa. We have drive-through beer stores now?
Yes, there's one in Kitchener.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my local beer store is a drive-through beer store. I will say that is a nice service.
I had no idea we had them here, but I have used them when I was in Australia because like almost every beer store in Australia is a drive-through, and it's literally like you go like to a quick lube because like it doesn't get cold there. So like you drive in and they've got giant roll-up doors, so you literally drive into the middle of the store and you just pop your trunk, load up your trunk, and then drive out. It's fucking awesome there.
So drive-through beer store is something that like I knew from way back, like before I was of legal age buying beer, and I was buying beer maybe slightly before legal age, allegedly, and out in the rural area, it was like a combination of a like variety store, coffee shop, beer store. Was
yes,
all one type of thing. So you could go through the coffee shop drive-through and be like, yeah, can I have 12-pack of whatever the cheapest beer you have.
That is actually pretty awesome when you do find one of those like random, very rural area beer, liquor, hardware, convenience / everything stores.
You get a 12-pack of beer and a couple of boxes of 22 shells, and
Yeah,
give me some bolts and screws like that.
good times.
So the other things that are going to be changing with this law, in addition to breaking our contract with the beer store, and hopefully putting all of these union thugs out of a job. This is me editorializing. They're not.
No, I'm with you on that.
Other changes, including loosening of some alcohol restrictions, including allowing certain establishments to start serving alcohol in Ontario at 9 a.m. Currently, it's limited to 11 a.m. This is a great idea. Totally on board with this. Letting people drink in parks and legalizing tailgating parties at sporting events.
Yeah. I mean, people are doing those things anyways.
Could that be some freedom returning?
It does feel a little bit like it could be some freedom returning. As somebody who was of legal drinking age and working night shifts, not being able to have a beer in the morning when you're done work, because that was when you were having dinner and getting ready to go to bed. I would very much like to be able to have alcohol that early in the morning, and I can certainly see the appeal as a business owner if you wanted to have a little bit of brunch targeted to a certain demographic that wanted to have something in their mimosa before 11 a.m. I could see some appeal for some business owners to having that. As for drinking in parks and at tailgate parties, these are things that are happening. Not charging people for doing them is, I'm totally on board with this.
Like, just don't be an asshole, but that goes without saying. I think,
but they haven't. They recently changed this law in Alberta as well. The UCP, actually, Jason Kenney's first act as Premier of Alberta was to repeal the law in Alberta that prevents you from drinking alcohol in provincial parks. Not because no one wasn't already drinking in provincial parks. Also, it's Alberta. But it's silly to have people being charged with an administrative law when we already have, like, thou shalt not be intoxicated in public.
Well,
or drive drunk, or many of other charges. I mean,
right. So if you want to, like, go and enjoy some nature and have a beer, or in my case, I'm thinking about going to our local park and having a picnic and a beer. Because I see we have a large segment of older people, geriatrics. I don't know what's the PC way to call them. Old as dirt. They like to go down by the lake and watch the swans and have a picnic. And I regularly see them drinking wine. I'm like, I'd like to watch the swans and have a beer. I bet if I do that, the cops will get called, though.
Yeah, can confirm, because my parents are of the older variety that have definitely picnicked and drank wine in your location on many, 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 many occasions. And recently, the cops get called even on them.
Yeah, see, this is silly. Like, it's not like they're running around interfering with the operations of anything else. It's just, it's a change to an administrative law that we shouldn't be spending money prosecuting people on, because we have other laws to tell you to effectively don't be an asshole in public when you've been drinking.
Yeah.
All right, onward and forward. Let's go to the CTV News. Education Minister blasts TDSB for proposal to spend millions on iPhones for staff. So this is for the Toronto District School Board. Unsurprisingly, Toronto is one of the places where they were so concerned that Dougie was going to fire all of their teachers. And they plan to buy 3,000 iPhones for their administrative staff.
Yeah, fucking ridiculous.
So is the education minister, like, were they expecting it to be Samsungs? What's the complaint here?
Huawei.
Yeah.
They wanted the phones that spy on you.
Yeah.
Oh, the Huawei's.
That'd be Huawei's, yeah.
Yeah, no, he was just like, WTF, what the fuck is this? And then they immediately scrapped the program because they got caught.
Well, and that's all this comes down to is TDSB says that they were going through their normal procurement process and they're treating this with, all of the regular checks and balances. And they would have been getting some kind of a discount for purchasing all of these phones in bulk. I'm not sure if TDSB's ever bought phones in bulk. That's not really a thing.
They would not have gotten a discount.
No, 100% they would not have. So I don't know why.
Apple doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know where they got this from. And of course, the article and the spokesperson for TDSB failed to mention what sort of a discount they were expecting to get, because it would be zero. Because Apple will not give you a discount for their phones.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we also purchase hardware en masse for employees, but we don't get a discount for it.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
No, and this is just an example of, like anytime they say like, oh, we need to cut the schooling budget by 5%. Like, well, that's going to come out of, we're not going to have chalk for chalkboards or dry erase markers anymore.
Yeah, but
and it's like, how come that's what you think that the cuts are going to come from, but then you still have the money to do this kind of bullshit?
Yeah, exactly, right. Like,
well,
it can't come out of my iPhone budget. It's got to come out of the kids get the fucking chalk and the calculators and the gym class and
fuck the textbooks, right?
Yeah,
we can't afford textbooks.
I'm not up on Apple. Is the XS the current gen iPhone?
Yeah.
So why does 3,200 people that work in administrative positions for the school board, vice principals, principals, there was a list somewhere in this article that include some field staff and central staff. Why do these people need iPhones of the most current generation in order to run a school?
I wonder what kind of a price they get on 3s or 5s or something.
Well, but not even that. Like,
I could see that.
Why do we just not give them phones?
Yeah.
Right, and that's like, okay, so the field support services, I could kind of see it. So like if you work for the school board and you got to go like fill out service calls because you're the guy that like cleans the graffiti off, I could kind of see some of the field staff, depending on what that role actually means. I could see like a need for that. Like the school board where I went to high school, they had a guy that looked after all of the computer networks for like all the schools in the district. So he would just go to whatever school had a problem that week and fix all their computer shit. So I could see a need for them to be able to like dispatch work orders and do emails and have the ability to reroute those people. But like, what are principals and vice principals doing that they need iPhone X's?
Well, I mean, I get like if you have a private business and you want to give all your execs or admin something because that's what you want to do and it works with your system, great. That's your choice. It's your money that you've earned to do that. This is taxpayer money, and like you're saying, what the fuck do they need them for? That their phone that they've already got doesn't do, like maybe email, but every phone fucking does email now.
No, I think the question is we shouldn't be giving them phones at all.
Oh, exactly.
Most people.
I cannot see a good reason in giving school administrators a phone. I can see that there are maybe cases for certain roles within the school board to have mobile phones.
Yeah, like. There are for sure. There's certain roles that require it, but I mean not this number for Toronto alone.
No, and certainly not for principals and vice principals. They have phones in their offices and they have computers in their office. What do they? It's not like they're running a business where they're going to have to be available for their 11 o'clock call with the office in Beijing.
No, and even if one of the students is overdosing on fentanyl or something in the bathroom, they can still run to their office and make a call. Really. Just saying, or ask one of the teenage students that has their iPhone to make a call.
Yeah,
or just make a call with their own phone. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah. I'm not opposed to having
who doesn't have one?
Opposed for them diverting funds from actual education to giving people that don't need them top of the line, very expensive electronics.
No, I didn't need the company to buy me my phone either, right? So.
Yeah, it's not like there's any school worker that's like taking calls or emails and things outside of work business hours.
Well, so I just got a message here from somebody that is listening, and they saying that they worked in facilities for a school board and were on call 24/7.
Right, and that's what I was saying. Like, I could see
certain roles, for sure.
Yeah.
But
or, the guy that has to wipe up the graffiti, and they have one guy that goes around to do it at every school. He's got to have a way to track his work orders. Sure, I can see. Now, does he need the iPhone XS? Probably not. Could he get by on like the last generation, like the
you could
4?
do like we do? And
could he get away with a pager? Probably.
Oh, and that's
so anything newer than that is probably excessive.
Well, and I mean, like we don't necessarily need to buy them a phone. Part of the thing could be like, hey, do you have a phone? Great, we will pay a portion of your phone bill because you're going to use that for work. And that's what I do with my employees. We don't buy them phones. They have to get their own phone. But because they are going to be using that for work, we pay a portion of their phone bill. To be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, and I can see that there are certain roles within the board where this may make sense that the employee would have a phone. But I think that principals, vice principals, central staff part of this. I feel like these are all 9-to-5 jobs that do not need a government-sponsored iPhone, current gen iPhone.
They could use their own personal phones, like 90%
or
of
they
the
could
other
just
people.
do their work.
Yeah.
Government and everything associated is useless and should be disbanded violently.
That's not exactly the drop that I would normally push right now, but well done.
I don't disagree with that statement.
Speaking of violently disbanding things, Burlington Gardener finds a World War II hand grenade buried in their yard. Spoiler alert, it was a dummy grenade, like it was a training grenade.
But it makes for good, inflammatory headlines, right?
It did make for an inflammatory headline and a picture. I got super excited.
Yeah.
Someone jumped the gun on C-71, eh?
Yeah, started burying it. Oh,
So
come and find this motherfucker. Put this in my garden.
Halton Police got a call this past week about this. Someone was gardening, and after digging 2 to 3 meters, found a hand grenade.
Maybe they were trying to bury their Swiss arms.
What sort of gardening are you doing that requires you to dig 3 meters? That is a deep garden, my friend.
I'm thinking bomb shelter.
Yeah.
I would, but
Were they planning on putting a large piece of PVC pipe in the ground?
Yeah, 2 to 3 meters into the ground.
Yeah, so they came across this.
I feel like this has to be just bad reporting.
I don't know. I'm
Anything is possible. Yeah.
So they ended up contacting the previous homeowner. I guess the new homeowner hadn't been there that long. The previous homeowner had lived there 30 years and had no idea about this. They confirmed they did not bury a practice grenade in the yard. I mean,
9 feet deep.
Would they admit to it? Oh, no, we definitely didn't bury. No. And don't dig under the rosalias. Whatever you do, leave the rosalias alone.
Yeah.
Don't wear anything metal near them.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So
that's where the real hand
they
grenade
took it out. The police, they shared it with the military, and they confirmed it was a practice grenade. And the grenade was later destroyed.
Yeah.
So why is this news?
Well, that's kind of why I put it in. It was a funny story, and it's a non-story because someone found some garbage when they were
digging it destroyed? Why did they blow it up?
Because the EOD guys
just give it back to them.
They need practice.
This was in Burlington. Like I would bet a substantial sum of money that they drove it to Borden. They had the Halton Region Bomb Squad drive it to Borden, and they had the local EOD team blow it up on Castlefield.
It's a good drill.
Yeah. Borden or Brampton, one or the other.
No. Well, if it was a controlled dead, it would have been done at Borden. But I see what you're getting at.
But it wasn't inert. Was the bear spray they used on the next story.
Oh, bear spray, that's a good point. So arrests made. No, I don't want ads. Piss off. Arrests made in hostage incident involving knives and bear spray in Sudbury Tim Hortons. So the last one was a non-story. This one is sort of a disappointment. So both the person taking the hostage with the knives and the person that used the bear spray to try and stop them have all, like everybody in this whole Tim Hortons got charged. Everybody got charged.
But I bet you they're going to treat the person that tried to defend themselves and or take down the bad guy is probably going to get a bigger charge than the crazy man.
Well, that seems to be what this is. So it seems like a crazy person with a knife came into a Tim Hortons and did crazy things and then took a hostage.
I mean, between the lady that craps herself and then throws it at employees and then this, I don't think I ever want to set foot in a Tim Hortons ever again.
No, the coffee is not very good, so I can't recommend it.
Yeah, but is it bad enough that you're going to crap yourself and throw it at the lady behind the counter?
Started to become like a People of Walmart thing, but for Tim Hortons now.
Yeah.
But so the police came in there, and I guess he drew his service weapon, and nobody got shot.
which is weird since there was a gun involved.
Yeah.
I am continually stunned and disappointed by my fellow Canadians, though. They managed to continue to make clicking noises in the background. What are you playing with?
It's not me. Somebody's typing.
No, I'm not even
No.
near my keyboard.
Hmm.
My dog is walking around in the background. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, it's Brutus on your floors. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Brutus, go back to sleep.
Yeah.
I continue to be disappointed by my fellow Canadians because rather than doing anything, with the exception of the woman with the bear spray, which is funny, no one did anything except take cell phone videos of this.
Yeah. More people need to carry bear spray.
Or give
for better videos.
Or like all of a sudden like flash mob and tackle the crazy guy with the knife. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Heck, I mean, personally, if I was a police officer, maybe that's a good reason I'm not. But I mean, if I had a guy with a knife coming towards me, I don't know. The 21-foot rule applies, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or you just hose them with bear spray.
Well, they got stronger than bear spray. So
Yeah. Because that's just funny.
I mean,
Well, the 34-year-old woman who pepper sprayed the man is charged with administering a noxious substance, possession of a weapon, and numerous other breaches. Like, that person's gonna get way more than the guy that like attacked a person with a knife, took hostages. Like,
nothing like discouraging standing up for your fellow man, right?
Yeah, that guy's gonna go to a hospital for a couple of months and then get let out on good behavior, so long as he takes his pills or some bullshit like that.
Yeah, the woman will never get a pal.
Yeah,
if she's after one anyway.
Yeah, it could potentially lose a job. Like, yeah, retarded.
Yay, Canada,
Yay.
where you can't defend yourself even from bears or crazy people with knives.
Yeah, not even in a Tim Hortons. Like,
I found a good bear defense last week. I'm just saying.
30 caliber?
It was.
Yes, 30 caliber bear defense is a quality bear defense.
Yeah.
What episode is the episode where we talk about shooting into space, though?
all of them? Don't we mention that in every episode? Because we should if we don't.
Probably episode one, maybe.
All right, let's do some more stuff. We've got Lobo Homo at its finest for a couple of articles. First one, Global News. Canada expanding cap on LGBTQ2 refugee sponsorship program. I didn't even know we had an LGBTQ2 sponsorship program. But now that I know we have one, I'm not happy about it. And rather than seeing it expanded, I'd like to see it reduced. In fact, I'd like to see it reversed.
Yeah, I just don't get how, like, I mean, these are all things that are covered by, like, you know, the human rights things. So, like, if I hire someone, I can't go, are you LGBTQ2? I can't ask that question. So if I can't ask that question as an employer, how is it that I can give special considerations and compensations to these people as refugees?
Well,
that's what I'm curious
allow
about.
me to channel our immigration minister, Ahmad Hussein. LGBTQ refugees face unimaginable circumstances just for being who they are.
Yeah, but are you violating your human rights by asking them to fill out that form?
Circumstances, liberal noises.
You just have to ask them the roundabout LGBTQ question. Like, do you shoot PCC?
Oh, wow.
Ouch!
What color is your IPSC jersey?
It's multicam.
That would be a tough one then.
Camouflage is not allowed.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it is.
So, ironically enough, I'm sure that Mr. Hussein's home country is one of the people like persecuting the LGBTQ people. However, I mean, why do you have a fixed number that have to be of this persuasion in order to get status?
I mean,
why can't they just say like, why can't they just say like, hey, I'm being persecuted against, I've been persecuted against because of my sexual orientation. Why does there have to be a fixed limit, minimum, maximum? I mean,
or I live in a shithole country where I'm under threat of death. for whatever reason, can I please come into your country?
Because my home country makes it a capital crime to be LGBTQ.
These are not good enough reasons to accept people immigrating into our country. If you want to immigrate here, you need to meet the standards and requirements of immigration. The entire concept of the refugee program is completely broken in our country. Yes, post-World War II, it made sense to accept refugees from other countries that were trying to rebuild and move on with their lives. But this whole refugee thing, because I live in a shitty place, this is not how we operate a first world country. This is not how you import people to join the labor force. If you want to move here, you need to demonstrate that you're willing to contribute to society and have the financial backing to be able to do so. So whatever I don't know what the requirements are off the top of my head, I'd have to look them up. But whatever that minimum amount of money is that you need to have, or that minimum skill set, okay, cool. You're a neuroscientist or a surgeon, or you have $1 million in capital and you're going to come here and start a business, and like you can show us like the bank statement says you got $1 million. Yeah, okay. The three of you, you're all allowed in because we want you in our country. But you live in a shitty place where your husband beats you, sucks. But that's what Somalia is. Sorry.
Yeah. Can't take them all in, but
yeah.
I mean, skilled labor is a thing, right? I mean, point systems were there for a reason, right? I mean, if you had post-secondary education, a transferable skill, money, university degree, whatever have you, it worked out as a very equitable and fair and colorblind version of how to emigrate to this country, right?
Well, and that's all I'm asking for, is it to be based on merit, and that merit doesn't have to be that you're the smartest or the best, or it could just be that you're willing to do the work, or that you have the money to be able to pay someone else to do the work.
Yeah.
But just taking people in because of their sexual orientation, why are we not importing hundreds of farmers from South Africa who have been able to prove for decades that they can run successful businesses and grow food?
Well, to me, I mean,
we're not fast-tracking South African farmers. And
favoring the LGBTQ2 people sounds like you're discriminating against people based on their sexuality, just in the reverse, if you will, where it's like, oh, you're straight? Yeah, sorry.
Further things in this that confuse and enrage me. Apparently, the government is going to spend $800,000 over 5 years on this initiative, to import 50 LGBTQ people every year. But the Canadian government is also providing 3 months of financial assistance and startup costs to all of these people that they import.
Interesting enough, the two-spirited thing is kind of a made in Canada orientation, so it's kind of funny they would offer two-spirited people entry to the country.
Yeah, well,
I hadn't thought about that. I was busy being angry about how much of my money they're giving to people who are not Canadian and are not paying into our welfare programs.
Yeah.
Well, you know who doesn't have a mental disorder anymore?
LGBTQ plus people? You're very on the segues today. I don't know if I'm taking too long or what the deal is.
Sometimes he's just on fire, man.
It's the hotel thing today. I think it's slowing you down and speeding me up.
Evening the playing field, maybe.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Maybe they're just pumping more oxygen into your hotel room than they are into Andrew's.
My hotel room has plenty of oxygen, and
mine's not really a hotel room.
Yeah.
More of a barracks.
Same difference.
Yeah.
Definitely need a barracks. Don't currently own one.
Yeah.
Got plenty of oxygen, but twice as much hydrogen under the sea out there.
Yeah, it's not the hydrogen that's causing me problems. World Health Organization eliminates gender dysphoria as a mental disorder. So the crazy gay people are just gay people now, I guess. I'm not.
But are they even gay though? Like if if you were born a woman and now you say that you're a man and you're into women, are you even gay?
This is unfair of me because I was talking about the whole LGBTQ2 thing. This is more of just the
T. The T.
Yeah, it's just the T part. I had to count through the letters to arrive at the correct letter. So the World Health Organization is now calling this gender incongruence. This is a gender identity disorder where their physical I guess that's biological gender doesn't align with their assigned sex. Nope, that's not right. I definitely have that wrong. Their gender identity does not align with their assigned sex at birth.
So hold on. It sounds to me like they just renamed it, not so much removed it.
Well, but incongruence is a lot more user-friendly than dysphoria.
Kind of like when they went from pedophile to minor attracted person to age gap love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you say
Exactly like
the
that.
bear defense round was again? 30 caliber?
I do believe it is 308, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd only need like a 20 caliber to take out a pedophile.
Yeah, but
You just a strong rope with hemp based
Yeah.
products. I'm just saying.
I mean, not that a 30 cal won't be satisfying. I'm just saying it's not required in this instance.
Allegedly.
I mean,
the World Health Organization is responsible for. They have a group within their organization that puts out the statistical classification for disease and related health problems. This is the American. It's not the APA. There's another American Association of Physicians that puts out the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual for physicians. They have something similar with theirs. The whole idea with this language is to make it so that they expand their notion of gender and recognize the. I really don't know what they're getting at with this. I give up. I can't make it through this article. But I can't take these people seriously.
Well, no, because I mean, I can't go there either. Sorry,
No,
I can't. Oh boy, I mean, the fact is that a lot of these people do have like serious mental considerations, and to say it's okay, in this day and age, because we're trying to buy votes as best we can in virtue signal. You're not crazy. I swear to God. Like in actuality, some of them kind of are just messed up. But
yeah, I can't take this seriously. Like they're getting input in the article from an individual that uses they them pronouns and runs an advocacy a Toronto-based advocacy group. What's it? So Jack, I'm not sure. JACQ Tixon Vloopy. Got to be aware of those hyphenated names, right? Probably a giveaway.
Beware the hyphenated name.
Who's apparently a senior consultant at the Toronto-based LGBTQ plus service center called the 519, which is not a Toronto area code, so I'm not really sure. But anyway, this individual uses they/them pronouns and is very excited about all of these changes for reasons that I don't fully comprehend. And I'm okay with that, because I don't suffer from any sort of dysphorias or incongruencies. Incongruences? I'm not sure. All right, nobody wants to touch the global homo gayplex thing then? We're moving forward?
no, I don't want to get.
None of us want to touch the global homo.
No, I mean, the fact is that a news article doesn't change my outlook on things, so I'll just pass.
Yeah.
All right, let's. This is more puff pass. Vice, because that's right. We're back to using Vice. Ontario cannabis workers will be trained to spot stone people. The training consists of one question: Are they participating at the Ontario Cannabis Store?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually had an idea earlier today. I think I shared with Gavin. I was like, just hold out a big bag of Doritos if they act like Joe Biden with little kids, and grab onto that thing. Then I guess they're stoned. I mean, that'd be the number one way to figure it out. That the roadmap eyes.
Or if a guy walks in like wearing Birkenstocks and like a tie-dye Grateful Dead T-shirt and like one of those Rastafarian hats.
It smells
whether
like
they're Rastafarian or not.
It smells like lime and patchouli.
Yeah, there's a good chance they're stoned.
Yeah, like whatever it says, what's the big deal? So you're spotting people that buy the product you're selling. Okay.
I mean, I guess know your market.
So I mean,
Now, I do like this article is awful.
Well, it's on Vice.
So like they're making fun of the list of symptoms that they're told to look for. And earlier in their call, it talks about how the intoxication they're looking for is not necessarily marijuana intoxication. It's any drug. It's alcohol. It's any drug whatsoever. And then they make fun of that half the symptoms don't apply to marijuana. It's like, but they do to the other drugs they're looking for. So this entire article is basically just them making fun of the symptoms that they list and how they don't apply to marijuana.
Yeah, well, whatever. It's dumb. I mean,
Which part? The Vice article or the Ontario Cannabis Store, or the fact that we're going to train people how to spot stone?
all of it.
Cannabis store?
Both.
Yeah, all of it. All of it. Yeah.
I will give the government credit that they are at least, like, when you sell alcohol, you have to take your smart serve stuff, so you have to know when to stop giving people the alcohol.
Dumb.
I am on board with them at least making the playing field level. If you're going to sell the cannabis, you should know when people have had enough cannabis.
Yeah, but I mean that.
It's on the individual.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you could buy it online. I mean,
You can be blazed and ordered online, right?
yeah, kind of negate. I mean, I guess that doesn't like ship out right away, and it doesn't just show up at your door. But like, I don't know, dealers have been selling to people that are stoned out of their minds since time began. So, if you're gonna sell pot, just sell pot. If you're gonna sell alcohol, just sell alcohol. If a guy is sober enough to hand over his money, he's sober enough to buy more alcohol.
I can get behind that.
You know, like, but yeah, it's dumb, but it's hilarious. I would like to take the training just to see how funny it is.
It's
Well,
probably not funny. It's probably very sad, like smart serve training.
Yeah,
and that's a day with pay for each employee that we had to pay for.
Yeah.
Is it a day with pay? Because the article mentions that it's going to cost them $50 a piece.
Oh, they're gonna do it like smart serve, probably.
Yeah,
That's how I read it. It's a licensing model, or I guess a training model similar to smart serve. So it costs the employee $50 to take the training, and it'll take them a half a day or 4 hours to complete the training.
Oh god, that smart serve training
and
is
they can
terrible.
write the test twice.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's gonna run pretty much exactly like it.
Yes, essentially, it's just a way to get $50 off of people.
So why couldn't they just make this a component of smart serve that already exists?
Why do they need to have a smart serve?
Well, they don't, but if they're going to,
now they can get $100, $50 for smart serve, $50 for weed serve.
Yeah, I mean, true. That is a good business model for the people that make the tests, but it's going to really suck if we ever start to like truly experience freedom and have a place where you can order alcohol and pot at the same place.
Well, we don't and we won't.
Yeah. Well, unless Dougie keeps at it.
Well, maybe, but I don't have high hopes.
No.
Let's do another one. The CRA signed settlement agreement with wealthy KPMG clients involved in offshore tax scam.
Almost.
I'm sorry. That article says scheme. I called it a scam.
Same difference.
Almost sounds like a delayed prosecution agreement.
Well, the other bit that's interesting is CRA already settled with a bunch of wealthy people and corporations in 2016 for this same scheme. And in 2016, KPMG was like, hey, sorry, yeah, our bad. We'll stop offshoring tax stuff and having all of these companies, in quotes, on the Isle of Man giving you gifts, in quotes, that you don't have to declare as taxable income. We weren't doing anything wrong, but we'll stop doing that. And then, like 3 years later, they're still doing it.
Sounds pretty typical for anyone in any sort of government position. Yeah,
a little bit. So KPMG is what one of the largest accounting firms in Canada, and they're actually headquartered out of the Netherlands. So I guess we can blame. Can we blame Marty for this?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems fair.
How big of a canoe would they have? It'd be a big canoe, right?
Oh, it's got to be.
But I mean, on paper, it's probably not worth very much.
Or worth less every
Kind of
year.
like that
Yeah.
ARC thing in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So CRA has decided to settle out of court and has some sort of binding agreement with a bunch of rich people because they're doing something that is maybe not entirely above board, but isn't exactly illegal. So what I can gather from this is that they have found some loopholes in the tax acts that allow us to have money invested in another country, and then somehow the people investing that money get gifts back, and they don't have to declare that as taxable income.
Interesting. I think we need to look further into these loopholes.
Really, what I'm getting out of this is my accountant is not as good as whoever works at KPMG.
Yeah. We got to find that guy.
Oh, these guys, this is like a whole company-wide effort. Apparently KPMG actually had people that they listed in the internal documents as champions of this, and they were using it as a sales technique in order to grow their business.
Yeah. Well.
I do enjoy that the minister that's in charge of this, I'm totally going to butcher this person's name. I bet they use they, them pronouns. Diane Labouthier? Labouthiller? I don't know. I'm sure she's a Quebec MP, though, based on the name.
Laboutier?
Sure.
Yeah.
Something like that? French chick?
Well, not just a French chick. It's important to remember that the Minister of Revenue is, prior to becoming a politician, was a social worker. The Minister of Revenue, prior to becoming a politician, was a social worker.
Seems eminently qualified to me.
Let that just sink in for everybody out there in podcast land. So,
Hang on a second, though. Was she a female before she became a minister?
I'm still unconvinced based on the photographic evidence.
Because, I mean, like, that would make her qualified. Because when we need that 50%, whatever females we got, they're getting jobs.
That's what happens when you're a feminist.
Going back to 2017, she had stated that her office's intention would be to clamp down on this particular KPMG scheme of offshoring revenue to the Isle of Man. And Trudeau actually mentioned this during the election campaign, that he would clamp down on this sort of thing.
I'd imagine he'd be super excited about the Isle of Man.
No, the Isle of Man, not the Isle of Man.
Yeah, the singular.
He's actually changed it to the Isle of People now, though.
People kind.
Yeah.
So the minister is deeply concerned by this, and actually I think the language she used was that this was problematic. But don't worry, her agency will make sure that they are more transparent about these sort of things in the future.
It's only problematic if it happens under their watch.
Well, she's instructed the CRA to review its internal processes to allow for more transparency with respect to the reasons for which a settlement is reached. And of course, the CRA says that reaching a settlement that includes non-disclosure agreement and binding settlement and binding arbitration, well, this is the most substantial savings to the public. We saved money by settling with these people out of court. You know, we didn't actually follow the law, but I suppose that means that we have to all agree that tax court is actually law.
Hey, I mean, the we saved money by paying them out excuse is one that's been used by Trudeau successfully in the past. So
To the tune of 10.5, I do believe.
yeah.
Yeah, but it'll get you a strip mall in Edmonton.
Yeah. A couple of used helicopters from somewhere, probably too.
That's if we got the money.
Yeah.
And no sign of the check for the media settlement or subsidy, is there, Andrew?
No, you can tell by my fantastic audio quality that I have still not got my 600 million government bucks.
Fuck, man. Like, even $10 would be nice. Like, just something, just to show they care.
Well, it's not like they don't listen. I mean, I can see where people are when they are downloading the show. I know there are people in Ottawa, and I know there are people in CSIS that listen. Hi, CSIS.
Hey.
How you doing?
Well,
Sorry for whoever the janitorial staff is.
yeah.
So let's do another one. On the National Post, the anti-fascist left were the real fascists all along.
Shocking.
Whoa.
Sky is still blue and water still wet. National Post got the hard-hitting journalism. Actually, the author of this article was at one time the head statistician. Pardon me, not the head statistician, the chief economist at Stats Canada.
You know, it is kind of funny that history did repeat itself pretty much precisely this time along, because back in Germany, when the real anti-fascist cadre came along, they were fascists too.
Yeah, I think that
this is a thing that is part of their manifesto, if you will, the anti-fascist manifesto. That it doesn't really matter what you're doing; just say you're doing the opposite of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you repeat it often enough, pretty soon everybody starts believing it.
Yeah, that or whoever wrote this article is just going through our back catalog from when we said this, I don't know, forever ago.
Yeah, I feel like they have missed a couple of important points, but he does go through and talk about Hitler and Benito and Franco in Spain, and there's a couple of other relevant points that, yes, this is history repeating itself, and yes, Nazis are bad, but also so are communists.
Yeah.
I think that he does not, either in the confines of the 1,000-word article or within his own understanding, he still doesn't do a good job of explaining the political spectrum, because we're talking about, the anti-fascists just think everyone on the right, all conservatives are actually extremely right-wing, they're all alt-right, they're all extremists, and that's not the case, because the next step of conservatism is libertarianism, and I feel like he is vastly wrong in that, because that's like saying the next step in liberalism is socialism, and that's also not quite right.
Yeah, like libertarianism should, in theory, be smack dab in the middle. Like,
it's almost like it's not just a one-dimensional spectrum that our political scale falls into.
well, yeah.
It's almost like it needs to be multidimensional to explain how all of these things fit together.
Yes.
Because just saying there's a left and a right doesn't actually explain this. And yes, the crazy leftists in the Antifa versus the crazy right people, or
Yeah.
from Antifa's perspective, I suppose everyone to their right.
Yeah.
What is it that Tyler likes to say on International Liberty or Death? Everyone to the right of Hillary Clinton?
Yeah. Close enough. Or is it that everyone to the right of Hillary Clinton is prone to suicide?
No, that's everyone that was definitely had no one standing behind them but got shot in the back of the head anyway.
Twice.
That's how you suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad National Post is running this, but they're a little bit late to the game. This is not real news. But I guess the mainstream media is now backing up the premise that we've been pushing on the show for a while, is that the anti-fascists are the real Nazis.
Yeah.
I'm also disappointed that he missed out on the whole, explaining why Nazi is a funny thing to have shortened National Socialism to. But again, I'm not sure if he just lacks the historical understanding, or if you're just the constraints of the 1,000-word article on the National Post website.
Well, it's a start, right? Like, to finally get people to realize what we've been saying all along is that, they're just as crazy as the far right. Just differently crazy, but they both want the same thing. Violence in the streets. But more so on the left, because they're really crazy.
Well, and that's when was the last time you saw a right-wing mob? You didn't because they were at work.
Yeah.
Kind of like those right-wing mobs that appeared out of nowhere after the latest elections there in the U.S. after the left took the House.
Yeah, they just went
massive,
back to work like normal.
massive crowds.
Yeah. It's a shame.
Yeah. Or was there none? Yeah, there's none. That's right.
I wish that the author on this article would have gone into more detail because they were talking about like why like modern Antifa may misunderstand this because like referencing Mussolini had people that when he came into power in Italy between the First and Second World Wars, he had people from his own party like cross the aisle in their parliamentary system to go sit amongst the extremely right party, and that was like this is somehow a cause for confusion amongst modern people that. Well, Mussolini was some sort of fascist because he had people sit on the extreme right of their parliament. It's like, nah, he just wanted to hold seats.
Yeah.
Hey, go sit over there and vote with us.
Yeah.
Where have I heard that before? It seems familiar. Someone with funny socks, I think. Or no, he elbows you if you don't do what you want. That's what it is.
Yeah. Or ropes you. Oh wait, no, we just experience that differently than he does. Yeah.
Yeah. Other things that we can experience differently. We've got some gun news. In Manitoba, police seize major cache of homemade guns. I enjoy that the picture is clearly of a pair of Smith and Wesson revolvers. These are in no way homemade guns.
Or very well done ones.
No,
Yeah.
that's.
I noticed I'm like, those look pretty legit.
Like I can see the Smith and Wesson roll marking on one of them.
Hey, maybe they made them by hand to exact specifications, including the roll marks and everything else.
Well, if they were made to exact specifications, then which police?
They still put the name Rolex on the fake Rolexes, bud.
You know what? I had not considered that. That's a very good point. I guess that's why this says Smith and Weston.
Yeah. It's like when you go buy a pair of those $20 Oakley sunglasses. They look close enough.
So, Winnipeg police, you would think if this was if these guns were as good as the one in the first picture, you would think that the police would not have to release the following statement. A manufactured firearm, at least we can prove it's safe. These, we have no idea whether it's safe or not, so we have to take extraordinary precautions to ensure not only the safety of our officers, but anybody that's in and around the area.
Yeah, but like once they find it, like can't they just open it and unload it, and then like if there's no ammo in it, it's not going to just like randomly explode.
Are you telling me that the police are not experts when it comes to these matters?
So
yes,
I think what they're talking about is like some of the later photos where it's like just like a pipe and a spring and stuff like that. It's like they don't. It's harder for them to tell at first glance if they're loaded versus a revolver that's open.
Fair.
I mean, I suppose
I'm guessing that's what it is.
Glance, but I'm no firearms expert, but it seems to me that Colonel Cooper has a very simple 4-point system of how to not get fucking shot. Assume all firearms are always loaded. Don't point them at anything you don't want to destroy. Keep your finger off the trigger. Know your target and what's beyond it.
And if they're really worried that it's dangerous, call in the guy that took care of the testing hand grenade. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Give them the test hand. Where's the dummy hand grenade? Somebody call the Burlington police.
Just call that guy in to deal with it. Fucking.
I also like that they talk about how they were able to recover tools used to manufacture firearms, and it's just a Milwaukee angle grinder.
Well, that skid 40 pipe doesn't cut itself.
There's no way that's a Milwaukee angle grinder. It's the wrong color. That's a Makita.
Or Makita. It's a Makita. Sorry, yeah.
That's a Makita. Okay. And it means
they also said they found a prohibited .22 caliber bolt action firearm with a sling.
Yeah,
which is a very specifically odd thing to reference.
Okay, so it was a different article on the CBC from about a week and a half ago. But basically, what it was, they actually took a door latch, like those little bolt action style door latches, and they actually used one of those with a spring on it. So basically, when they open the latch, the little bolt shoved forward onto the 22 shell. That's what they're talking about, because I actually saw a picture of it, and it was only, I think the barrel length was about 2.5 inches with this bolt thing, and basically, so what they actually released the bolt. They figured that actually when it shot the 22, the bolt would come flying back at whoever shot it. And it was...
So it's almost like a semi-auto bolt action, almost?
Well, it's more like designed by a meth head, but it was pretty epic.
You bring that up, because the other thing they found along with their illegal and poorly manufactured firearms was methamphetamine.
Shocking.
Oh, yeah.
But not even enough methamphetamine to think that these guys were like competent meth people. Like $50 worth of meth.
But wait, okay, yeah. So a gram of meth, street value in Winnipeg is apparently $50 for a gram of meth. But listen to the charges on this. So remember at the beginning we talked about there were 11 improvised firearms. 2 of them were loaded. The tools, the prohibited 22 caliber bolt action firearm with a sling. Highly dangerous, probably black, definitely an assault sling. Charges go for 2 people, a man. He gets 3 counts of possession of a prohibited firearm, 2 counts of possession of a restricted or prohibited weapon or ammunition in violation of a prohibition order, weapons trafficking, and drug possession. And the other person gets charged with possession of a firearm while knowing it's unauthorized and failing to comply with recognizance.
Those are weird.
So criminals were being criminals and breaking laws. But did anybody notice that the number of charges didn't add up to the number of firearms?
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Because it seems to me every time a normally law-abiding firearms Canadian gets charged with something because they did something that wasn't in compliance with paperwork, they get a charge for every possible thing that they've done wrong.
Yeah, the charges normally are way more than the number of firearms involved.
Well, and in this case, one of the individuals involved already had a weapons prohibition.
Yeah, so that should be 11 violations right there.
It's almost like our existing gun laws are useless and ineffective.
Well, thank goodness we passed more recently then, right?
Well, just
they'll definitely follow those ones.
I'm just curious though. So, like the article, it says like a major is 11 considered a major cache of weapons?
I need the Wolf of Wall Street meme. Somebody get the rookie to pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
Because I think we talked about this before as to like when is it officially an arsenal? So like is 11 now where we're drawing the line on major cache? Because I'm somewhere between a major cache and an arsenal, I believe. Allegedly.
I only have 2.
I also have sold my non-restricted firearms to Mike and Canmore.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed that the police had another fun and exciting statement, which again makes me think they're maybe not experts in the field, which is cause for alarm. The main connection. This has got to be quoted wrong. The main connection is when you're on methamphetamine, you're in a state of paranoia, and you, as an individual, feel you need this firearm to protect yourself, and what you see as an individual high on meth is not what we want to see.
Maybe I've been on meth this whole time.
Yeah, I was just going to say, are you sure that's the symptom of meth or the symptom of people that own guns and are terrified of C-71?
Right. So aside, barring the either terrible reporting or the officer that has some form of Tourette's and or Downs, because I don't know, is and is not what we see. You're missing words, you have duplicate words, and I don't know what you're doing here, but
maybe his
journalism
teleprompter
is
was
lacking.
Could be his teleprompter was off.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that the methamphetamine is necessarily what puts you into a state of paranoia. I mean, maybe that's a thing that meth does, but yeah. maybe the Liberal government trying to take all of our legal guns through things like Bill C-71 is a reason for us to have our state of paranoia. Well, it's not paranoia if they're actually coming to get you, right?
That's true, yeah. I guess nobody's coming to get the meth head except for the whole, you're dealing meth.
But the good news is, under the latest, that was a C-76, these guys will get less of a sentence.
75, yeah.
75?
75,
75,
Yeah. Thanks for that black pill.
Well, you don't want to pick on them. I mean, come on. He was on his own recognizance. It sounds like he was really trying.
Yeah. I mean,
No.
clearly they're industrious if they were
No.
making improvised weapons. They've got transferable skills.
And who are we to interfere with, private enterprise, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Are we libertarians or not?
Yeah, I mean, life finds
We're
a way.
not. Marty and I went to a meeting with the Libertarians once. We're not.
No
Come on,
neckbeards.
We have no neckbeards and not nearly enough fedoras.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you even call those guys libertarians?
But skinny jeans? You must have had skinny jeans. Come on. Nothing?
I
No.
don't think any of the guys at that meeting were skinny.
Oh, okay.
There
So
was
all
some very
jeans for
well-fed
that were-
people.
Nor did they seem to believe in the free market either.
Well, it's okay. Now that I have a child, I will better understand the education system. So said the one that was a teacher.
Yeah, you'll just be more and more disappointed.
I'm sure you will better understand it, but probably in a much different way than he does as somebody that is profiting from said system.
Yeah. I'm not very good at the interning right now. I can't find a good summary of C-75, but the short version is something like they're reducing the length of time that you have to serve if you're involved in effectively the majority of forms of criminal enterprise, any sort of gang activity or drug peddling.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a summary here that actually has the details, but they're all in legalese and 600 pages long.
Yeah, it's not good. It's basically the short of it. Commit a major violent crime, rape, murder, drug charges, et cetera, you receive reduced sentences compared to what you would normally get.
Unless you're a gun owner.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It does not reduce the sentence or paper crimes, only actual crimes.
Oh, good. It has a provision on anal intercourse.
Oh, well, that's good.
Somebody let Tim know analingus is back on the table.
Oh, and depending on who your victim is, of course, there was talk about raising sentences for that too, but that was on a different subject. I think we mentioned that on the podcast link.
What?
No, remember on that other story we mentioned on the panelists page? It was.
Oh, yeah, I haven't covered that yet with the whole indigenous thing because there's a bunch of articles I'm collecting on the whole genocide that's happening.
Yeah.
That group, I thought it was going to be beneficial to those that might be members of NAMBLA. Although I guess there's a lot of stuff in C-75 that is beneficial to those that are members of NAMBLA.
You'll have to refresh my memory. What's an AMBLA?
The North American Man-Boy Love Association.
Oh, good. That's what I thought we were talking about. Good. I'm glad that we're...
Yeah, pedophile.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I thought we were talking about something else, but yeah, no.
No, not the North American Marlon Brando lookalike association. That's a different thing. That's a different NAMBLA.
Well, let's talk about some other gun stuff. This is more positive guns rather than meth heads in Winnipeg that are making illegal firearms with slings. I wonder if they made the slings.
And really good Smith & Wesson knockoffs.
Really good knockoffs. So this is on the gun blog. Conservative MP Michelle Rempel comments on Bill C-71 gun bans. So this is...
Quick note, in case she listens, she may or may not, but congratulations on her recent wedding.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did not realize she was engaged to an American. I hope she continues to be a Canadian.
Yeah, we need more people like her, that's for sure.
So the bottom line of this is that, in effect, the Conservative Party is going to reverse C-71 and any orders in council that Liberals pass between now and the election, provided that the Conservatives win a government in the next election. Like, that's the short version.
Well, it's just nice to see a politician that's not afraid to admit that they're a gunny, for one. Not afraid to be well versed on a subject matter before they speak on it. And I do like the fact that she's held his feet, Trudeau's feet to the fire for the last year and a bit, kind of without letting up at all. It's just been fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
Yep, she is definitely one of my favorite MPs. There are a couple of good ones, and she's on the short list.
Yeah, the very short list.
Yeah, actually, her and Polyev make a pretty good team when it comes to giving the Liberals across the hall or across the floor the smackdown.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed that we get a Conservative government our next election, and we can repeal C-71 and
Yeah.
maybe make some gun laws that make sense.
Yeah.
Which actually, I think that would be that's kind of my dream here, is if we could get gun laws that made sense. Because I'm not even, as much as I want the gay married couple to defend their marijuana plants with machine guns.
Or not.
Well, yeah, but that's for a different set of reasons. But
yeah.
Try to channel my inner Tim Moen.
I do
It's
believe
not really working.
part of his quote was "or not," but anyway, yeah, no, it was. It's very nice to see. The Bill C-71. Sorry, I missed my point. Go ahead.
I was going to say I would be all in favor of the Conservatives doing their own gun bill, their own legislation to change our gun laws, and just completely ripping a page out of the Liberal playbook to do it. So if Michelle Rempel's listening while she's supposed to be doing her honeymoon or whatever this week, fingers crossed she's tuning into the show. I have some ideas. Maybe we could just
contact the show and feedback.
No, just do what the Liberals are doing. Pass gun laws in our country that are going to target criminals and take away guns from the most dangerous segments of society, and actually make and implement effective gun laws.
Yeah. That's where I was going. Actually, maybe take a page from the Liberal playbook of what they promised, which is fact and science-based research and policy. In which case, technical merits of the gun versus my feels, and like actual barrel length versus just by name, and stuff like that. So they could actually do sensible gun laws. Consider the use of sound moderators as an actual piece of safety equipment, optional. I'm just saying, if you want to use it to protect your hearing and or be a nice neighbor, hey, sound moderators. They're not ninja tools to create super duper assassins. I mean, you can certainly do some common sense stuff, not just go with Hollywood amplification of bad ideas and bad myths.
Because really, we just need to overhaul the entire way that the Firearms Act is currently written.
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to having I'm opposed to having gun laws, because every gun law is an infringement. But recognizing that we live in a civilized society where I have to pay for roads and other people's health care and education, there are things that I am willing to compromise on to a certain degree. Like licensing. I have to have a license to drive a car. I'm willing to have a license to own a firearm. But it should not be onerous, and it shouldn't be any sort of... all it should be is, I am not a criminal, and I am therefore allowed to own guns.
And really, it should be lifetime, because if you do something bad, then they can revoke it from you. So what difference does it make if you have to do it every 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or you never have to renew it? They just take it away if you're bad.
A minor point of order too. Okay, so license renewals are just basically another tax, of course, as we know. But you don't need a license to buy a car. You need a license to drive a car. So I mean, as far as guns go, buying versus actually using it at a range.
Yeah.
There's a difference there too, right? Owning your private property shouldn't be dependent on a license.
No, and if they want to say I can buy it and keep it in my own home without one, then great.
Yes, but using it at a public range or in Crown land, you might need license. Okay, cool. But there's a slight difference on private ownership, right?
Having the ownership, yes, but I can understand that we can't just get rid of licensing, and we need some way to prove that you're not a prohibited person when you go to purchase a firearm. And since we don't have a NICS system, National Criminal Instant Background Check, like they do in the States, having a firearms license, it's not the best solution, but I'm willing to accept that we have a government get-out-of-jail-free card to allow us to own arms to prove that we are, in fact, not criminals. And then those are the only people with guns. And if you would get caught with a gun and you don't have the government piece of paper, well, then you get to go to jail for 5 years because you're breaking a law.
Well, if we've lost our rights in the baby steps, I mean, I don't mind clawing them back in baby steps either, right? So I mean, if we can
absolutely,
So this is if we can make the law make a little bit more sense, like if we can get rid of all the CFO's power or the vast majority of the CFO's power, because the fact that we have a regulatory body in every province doing something that's federally regulated anyway, why do I need the CFO to approve the transfer of a restricted firearm?
Yeah,
hell,
I already called the federal group in Miramichi. I already have a federal license. Why do I need the chief firearms officer, who's usually like the head of law enforcement in your province, to approve the transfer? Like, I already have all of the other approvals.
Yeah.
Right. Like or on the technical merits and criteria. Like, I contend that I should be able to own machine guns or sound suppressors or bazookas or flamethrowers or any other piece of artillery or whatever have you that I feel like I should be able to have. Because if I can buy it and I can safely operate it, I see no reason why I shouldn't get to have it.
Yeah, recreational nuclear warheads for everybody.
Right, but like, yes. There's a limit somewhere. I don't know where it is. Recreational nuclear warheads, I mean, yes, but like at some point there's probably a limit. But if I wanted to own a cannon, whether it's like an R-80 cannon, like a pirate cannon, or whether it's like a 52 millimeter howitzer, like a field-toed artillery piece, like I should be able to own a fucking cannon if I so choose.
Yeah.
Kind of like that German guy had the 88 millimeter in his basement.
Yeah, which is a feat, because 88 millimeter flat cannons, like they're not small pieces of equipment. So getting it into your basement is kind of it'd be like building a ship in a bottle.
And you got to squeeze it in between the tank and the other stuff he had too.
Yeah. Hey man, not all heroes wear capes. Some build ridiculous cannons in their basement.
Well, I'm not opposed to it. So like on the machine gun, like I see no reason why, as a licensed vetted firearms owner, you shouldn't be able to own a machine gun or sound suppressors or what have you, because I beat the point to death on past episodes again and again. But like a gun is a gun is a gun, and the criminals and the ones that are using them to murder other people and profit on their narcotics dealings are the ones that are the actual criminals, not the people that shoot with them recreationally or hunt. No, I'm not saying you should hunt your deer with your belt-fed M60, but if you wanted to, like, okay, you're dumb, but okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that do a lot of dumb things. I don't know why this is the thing we've decided to regulate.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, like changing the technical criteria, or at least having the RCMP Firearms Lab apply the technical criteria in an equal and meaningful way, rather than through orders in council or named variants or whatnot. The fact that I can't own a semi-auto only AK is stupid. I should be able to own an AK.
Yeah, especially when you can own, all kinds of other rifles that are pretty friggin' similar.
Like an M10X or something, yeah.
Yeah. Or, an 8.58.
Yeah, which I would actually argue that the 8.58 is better than an AK, but I mean our operational principles are almost identical. So
yeah, I would agree with you on that, because last round bolt hold open is kind of a cool feature that an AK doesn't have, but other than that, functionally and even cosmetically, they're pretty friggin' similar.
Yeah. So I say that the Conservatives go into the election with a sweeping change to the gun laws that results in targeting actual criminals, but looks like they're making gun laws more serious.
Yeah.
Because that's all we need to do is say that they're going to pass stronger gun laws.
Yeah.
Because that takes that point away from the Liberals, because that's what they're going to go into this election on. I'm sure of this, is that
absolutely.
is going to be a talking point for the election. Look at what we've done to reduce crime. We stuck to our promise of not creating a new registry, except that they are, because of the whole records keeping requirements in C-71.
Well, I'm hoping it's as popular as Paul Martin's handgun ban idea was, and look what happened to the Martin government.
Yeah.
I don't know if the handgun ban was the reason Martin government didn't get another term, but
that wasn't the only reason. But that was one of the last things he floated was a handgun ban, and I'm just hoping that history repeats itself. That's all.
well, fingers crossed. Because I mean, like, a gun is a gun. But if we want to have like the New Zealand model or the Aussie model, where there's different classes of firearms, sure. All right, I'll take an extra course so that I can have my handguns.
Yeah.
Or we can use the American model and I'll pay my tax stamp and now I can have a machine gun. Ho, 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 motherfuckers.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, if that's what they want to do, like, but none of this is bullshit like, oh, you didn't have it before a certain date or you're not a certain age or whatever. Like, once you're age of majority for whatever province you're in, and you want to take the extra classes or pay the extra fee, once you've done that, yeah, you want a machine gun, it's yours.
Yeah, and I mean, really, if they wanted, because I regularly see the anti-gun people drawing the comparison to automobiles with firearms. If they want to do it, that's fine. Like, I had to take another course to get my motorcycle license. If I have to take another course to get my air brake license, like, if that's what you want to do, okay, we already have 2 courses to get your gun license. You have to do one for hunting guns, and you have to do one for handguns. Okay, I'll take another one to get my machine gun license.
Yeah, and I'll take my suppressor course too, right?
Yeah, if that's what they want to do is like, oh, we had to take another course to make sure we're super safe. It's stupid, but I think it would be palatable to the Canadian public for the non-gun owning Canadians to be, well, they have to take an extra. Okay, there's extra training that they have to take. There's extra licensing requirements.
Yeah, it doesn't prohibit you from owning something. It just makes it slightly more difficult. But if you want to jump through the hoops, you can jump through the hoops.
Well, and we already jumped through those hoops, and that's why I'm saying, like, if we could at least make the laws, if we could make stronger gun laws that made sense.
I don't even think those are gun laws so much to me. They're just better laws that deal with criminals and people being stupid. Like,
yes, but you have to put it into the frame of
I absolutely agree. Right? Yeah, you call it a gun law even though it's really not. It's just actually enforcing the laws on the books.
Yeah, which is all I'm after. We repeal C-75. So if you're in the commission of a crime, you use a firearm, then you get another 5-year mandatory minimum.
Yeah.
No, you were trafficking methamphetamine and you had an unregistered pistol.
Yeah.
Well, now you get to go to jail for methamphetamine, plus a mandatory minimum of 5 years for your unregistered pistol.
Yep.
Right? Just like start making the laws applicable.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, let's wrap it up, I guess. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram at urbex_GTA, or tomorrow night I will actually be, there's like a firearms town hall going on in the Niagara region, so I'll be there in person. I'll try and live stream it on the CPP Facebook page as per usual if I'm there.
Cool. Ian, where can everybody find you when you're not in your secret Fallout bunker?
All right, you can email me at theislandretreat@gmail.com, and you can also find me on Canadian Prepper Podcast, now on iTunes as well. There we go again. We record the podcast live on my YouTube channel, The Island Retreat.
Marty, where can everybody find the show?
Where's the link? Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
Close enough. As always, you
Isn't
can
that
find
what
me.
it said?
Yeah, no, that's what it said. I just didn't. It hasn't changed in 180 episodes.
That's how little I care, bud.
Yeah, I got that.
It's not like anybody's listening to this podcast being like, all right, I got to write that down. Just waiting for it to come up. I don't know how to find the show on Facebook otherwise.
There might
I'm sure
be.
it doesn't have a search feature or anything.
But the basics of marketing is we remind people where they can find us on Facebook, so they go and click like on Facebook so that we get more people looking at our stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, because we need more metrics to prove that we're the #1 podcast.
It's true.
And not a pod cart.
I don't think there's an argument to be made otherwise, though, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
You make a compelling point. As always, you can find me at Ragnarok Tactical. If you've listened to this far, you should use the discount code Patriot at checkout. Probably won't pay you back for how much of your time you spent listening to the show, but you will save some money if you buy some bandages or anything else on the website, really.
Yeah. You could also find us at the upcoming charity shoot in Drumheller in July.
Oh, I don't have the notes for that. Yeah, it's in
No,
July. When is it? You have the notes?
It's like July 6th, I think, the Saturday. Yeah.
Yes,
6th.
So-
I'll be there. Ian will be there. My lovely girlfriend Angela will be there. A bunch of other people will be there. I think the pod cart will be there, like if you care. But we're cooler.
Day before is a maple seed at Drumheller Fish and Game. Gavin, I do believe you're doing a Stop the Bleed class or two.
Yeah, you can get tickets for the Stop the Bleed class if you find Ragnarok Tactical on the Facebooks. There's links through there. You can get it. It's $40. Come learn some stuff. Save a life.
And there's also a pig roast, not the dirty kind. I'm talking about the actual food kind.
Yeah.
And that'll be the evening of the charity shoot as well.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a dirty kind, and now I'm afraid to Google it.
Yeah, that's an Urban Dictionary thing.
Yeah. It's Trudeau's
now I'm
favorite
still
thing.
not going to Google it.
Yeah, don't. But, if you're into political parties, you should definitely check out lemonparty.org. They're a new political party that is on the scene.
Definitely not. I've been on the internet before. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, probably don't do that.
Don't
Absolutely.
do that.
Yeah. Sorry for anyone that does that.
In which case, the World Health Organization has a definition for you. Was that everything for the charity shoot? I think.
Well, there is one last thing. There is but it's going to be a bit of a showdown there, I do believe.
That's true.
Yes, almost like a Thunderdome kind of event.
Yeah, for Western Canada. The Western Canada slot of CPP is up for.
Is this confirmed? Have you actually? Has Rod agreed to a mono contest?
No, actually, I don't think he even knows yet, but that's fine.
Surprise attack is best attack.
It's best to spring these things on people, right?
Yeah.
Just like, oh yeah, by the way, it's Thunderdome.
Yeah, you should just be training anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I guess with that, I will apologize to Rod Giltaka. I am sorry to hear about your upcoming loss at Thunderdome at the 9th Annual Canadian Podcast Firearms Charity Shoot, or whatever you guys are calling it now, because I honestly am not sure from the last CCFR radio what its name is.
I think it's just #PodCart from now on. That's
#PodCart. For all of our listeners out there in Podcart land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true north, strong and free.